this guy, and he said he was dating this girl, and she asked the conversation, "Well, how do you feel about toys?" He thought he was open until she went in the closet
How
and
much she
pulled
said?
out.
She had a whole
And he
spread.
was like,
I put myself into.
he said he thought he was secure until she whipped out the suitcase with what? He said now he had to question himself like, welcome to another episode of Solo Shift Sessions podcast, where we have deep, transformative conversations to help you transform your mind to transform your life. I am your favorite freedom and financial wellness coach, Coach Sapphire Starr. And with me, I have my favorite co host, Coach,
Kyle McCloud,
AKA Coach Sidekick,
aka Coach Side.
Coach Pride Kick.
It is wonderful
And
to be here, Sapphire. Coach Sapphire. It is wonderful to be here. And I'm so ready for today.
yes, yes. Today we are having a relationship communication evolution Q&A. And if you haven't, make sure you go watch our last podcast episode on season 2, episode 18, where we talk about relationship rewrites and how to communicate through evolution in your partnerships. And so last week we asked guests to send in questions and answers they had regarding the podcast. And today we are going to read and answer those questions to the best of our ability. We're super excited to dive in. This is our first Q&A with our podcast listeners and guests. And we could just, you ready to jump right in?
Just keep in mind, gang, these answers are not right and they're not wrong.
No.
They're just our answers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We listen and we don't judge. This is a safe space.
That's correct. Y'all know
That's correct.
that I judge, but I am keeping my judgment on the table, at least today. Session. I can't say today because that would be wrong. But for this session, for this podcast, I'm going to put my judgments to the side.
Yes. And we got some really, really good questions. And
Yeah.
I'm going to start, before I start the questions, I always have to throw this out here. Make sure if you want to join the tribe, join the conversation, or be a guest, make sure you go to www.soulshift.sessions.com. If you want to send in your question, you didn't get a chance to send your question in, please go to www.soulshiftsessions.com and send us an email. We love to hear from you guys. We love your feedback. We love and absolutely appreciate your support.
Yes.
All right.
First question.
Number one.
Hey, by the way, gang, y'all want to make sure that in your head you have the Strawberry Letter 23 song running through your mind as we go through this. Just like the Steve Harvey show.
Exactly. How do I express that I need more emotional support without sounding needy or starting an argument?
Okay, so I'm not exactly sure in regards to what this person is saying for emotional support. So I'm going to take a stab at this. The first thing is when I hear emotional support, I also hear things like happiness and how do I feel and so on and so forth. And the treading water part is when you put that on somebody else. Like I cannot put it on you to make me happy. I have to find it within myself to be happy within myself. And then I can bring my happy self to this relationship. And so when we say like, how do I express that I need more emotional support? I would ask is, are you giving yourself the emotional support that you need? And if that answer is yes, then the rest is in communication. But just how we say, like, I don't want to sound needy and I don't want to start an argument. We lead with that. You know, I communicate
That's a good
that. I
one.
don't want to sound needy. I don't want to start an argument. However, this is what I feel like I'm missing in this relationship. and I'd like to have a conversation about that. And I think that opens up the door because you're now saying, like, I don't want to start an argument. You're also saying, I don't want to sound needy. However, I'm aware that what I'm about to say may come across that way. But that's not my intention. My intention is to express what it is I feel like that I need, that I'm not getting out of this relationship, and then we move forward from there.
Oh, great answer. And something I would like to add to that is know your mate. Understanding the person that you're having this conversation with and considering the best approach. Because obviously, if you're saying, I don't want to start an argument or I don't want to sound needy, maybe this has happened in the past. And you're going in with this expectation of, I tried this before and this happened.
Right.
And I love what you said with leading with that. Hey, this is not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But in saying what you want to say, but also saying, okay, I know what has worked in the past when it has come to communicating with your mate and what has been effective. Because a lot of times we want to just jump in with our ego and like, no, they need to know. But what is the best way that they understand what you're saying? Because that's a part of communication, not just your delivery and you getting it out. Is what's the best way for this person to understand what I'm saying? Because if I talk to you right now in español, como está, qué tal, you like, and now we're not communicating. It's not effective. So what's the best approach to your mate, your partner that has worked in the past? Maybe you need to feed them first or feed her first. Maybe
environment, right? Like, what is the right environment to set up to open up a space or a clearing to have this conversation? Because if I'm trying to get myself together and get out the door for work, it's probably not the best time for us to have this type of conversation, right? If I have been, berated at work and I've just had like this really challenging day, and now I come home to a place where that's supposed to be where my peace resides, and you coming in here with this, telling me what I ain't doing, may not be the best environment for success, right? So setting up that space could be very important. Where are you going to say, read the room?
Yeah.
Read the room. Yeah.
Read the room. Read the room. And I've known people who are like maybe trying to even figure out what that looks like, because maybe there's always something going on. And you're like,
yeah, it's like it's never the perfect time to have that conversation. And in those particular times, it's like if nothing ever arises, I think I need to start off with hey, I really want to talk to you about something that's pressing. But, I haven't really found the time to do that because there's always something going on. But can we set aside a time where we can actually have a conversation? Now, don't fall for the trick, which is just spit it out. Just say it. Like, just
don't do it. No.
Like, because of course it's going to make the other person wonder what this is all about. Right?
That's true.
So it's like, look, nothing is wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't say anything wrong. It's not like something that we're going to argue over, but it is a pressing topic that I want to talk about. But, without you getting all in your head about it, because I'm going to get in my head. I'm going to tell you right now.
What I done did now?
What have I done now? So if you know that I'm going to get in my head about it, you might want to use as many pre-calls that you can to just ease my mind. Like, there's nothing wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. Let me know. So, and then, well, we do need to talk about this. And I want to set a time to talk about it because we always got stuff going on, So
yeah,
that's how I would approach that conversation.
Love that.
Yeah. All right, you ready for another one?
Yes, I'm ready.
What do you do when your partner shuts down instead of talking things out?
As a person that is probably the one more likely to shut down, I don't like conflict. It's triggering for me.
Yeah.
And I immediately shut down because it's emotional. And one of the reasons that I do shut down is because I'm trying to process. I'm a thinker, I'm an overthinker. So I'm trying to process what's happening. But obviously the person on the other side of that is like, what's happening, what's
Right.
going
Right.
on. And so for me, what has happened in the past, like I've been with, in relationships where they recognize that immediately and they call me out on it. Like, hey, I notice when when we have these type of conversations, you shut down, you shut out, and that makes me feel XYZ.
Yeah.
And them approaching it that way has definitely made me more aware and like, oh, I didn't necessarily realize that's what I was doing, but also I didn't realize that made you feel that kind of way because that was my process. I wasn't even thinking about how my process was affecting someone else. And so them pointing that out, that really did help me with that,
On the flip
identifying
side
that.
of that, if I know that that's what you do, then I know that
Yeah.
that's not about me. So I need to give you the space to go ahead and do that. In other words,
Yeah.
this ain't gonna be resolved right here in this conversation. I need to let you go to your corner, process, think it out, and all that stuff, and then we come back. And
Yeah.
especially if I'm not gonna feel like the way you're describing, I'm not gonna feel that if I know that that's what you do, like that's what your process is. Like I'm
And I
not
think
gonna
that's the
let
key
you.
thing is, but if you're starting out in a relationship and you're,
Yeah,
you may not even know that's their process. You just know like, hey, what's going on here? Why is this
yeah,
happening? Obviously, over time,
yeah,
you identify a pattern,
right.
but initially you may
Well,
just be like,
these are great conversations to have before you actually get into a relationship. Like, when we have
yeah,
let's say that we're going to have a tough conversation. What does that look like on your side? Do you get quiet? Do you need to go somewhere and
mm,
process? Do you how do you deal with conflict in a relationship? That
that's a
might
good
be
one.
a conversation to have before we say we go together. You
We
my woman and I'm your
exclusive.
man.
It's
Or,
you my old lady.
and there's probably a whole litany of conversations that are not happening in this day and age. When I say this day and age, I mean like with the social media being at the peak of what it is and online dating being at the peak of what it is. I feel like there's probably conversations that are not happening and people are jumping into relationships before having those particular conversations to even, for example, do you want kids? How many people are getting into relationships and they haven't even had that conversation?
That conversation. Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you
That's a
want
good
to
one.
get married? That's probably something we should talk about prior to, because if you do and I don't,
That's a problem. I believe there's a lot of assumptions that are made just because you assume
yeah,
someone is on the same pathway with
yeah,
as you because you like them, they like you, you feeling them, they feeling you.
yeah,
But what are their core values?
yeah.
What is their core character
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
What's
that's a good
taboo?
one. Ooh.
What's taboo to you versus what's taboo to me? There are so many. I feel like my wife and I did a good job at having these conversations prior to us actually getting into a relationship. Now, there are plenty of things that I feel like we probably could have talked about prior to that we didn't, and then there's the factor of change, right? We said this last week that people eventually they evolve. Things that they believed then, they may not believe now. Behaviors that they had then, they may not have those behaviors now. Things that used to tick them off may not tick them off now.
Yeah.
So,
So
we
true.
can leave room for that evolution within the person. However, when you talk about setting a foundation, why are we not setting a foundation
Yeah.
before we say we go together?
Yeah. And then doing checks. quarterly, annually, like, okay, where
Yeah.
are we? How are we feeling?
Yeah.
Every so often having those conversations because
Yeah.
the foundations may be shifting, they may be changing. So
Yeah.
where are we? How
Right.
are we feeling about XYZ? Because maybe that foundation, yeah, I was all on board with that and not
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
feeling that no more.
And not only that, though, I
That's not the
mean,
pathway I'm on.
not only do we change up here, but we're also changing physically as well, right?
Ooh,
There's the perimenopause and there's the menopause, and then what happens after that? I don't even remember what you said comes after that, but there's like a
post menopause.
menopause, right? And then what about the fact that maybe you were not physically fit and then you become physically fit?
Ooh,
What changes in your body then? What changes in your wants
and your behavior
and your behaviors, right?
and
Like
your
these,
confidence and
and you're right. Like next thing you know, like you used to wear baggy clothing, now all of a sudden you wear yoga pants out the door.
all the time. Now you want to be hanging from chandeliers because you're not going to break it. Like, wait a minute. Jesus, like, warm me up.
So, needless to
We
say,
ain't been doing that.
we didn't start off doing that. Well, guess what? You're doing it now.
And I'm lighter. Pick me up.
What? Right. Me. Let's do something.
Pick me up now. Let's do something now.
Right.
But I also think too, like when people that whole lose weight thing, you see a lot of that causes demise in relationship because you came in and maybe there was a connection. Maybe y'all two big people and y'all came in and y'all connected on that level. Your securities were the same, your confidence was the same. But if there's a shift, but we connected on this, but now that
Yep.
connection is no longer there, is that the end of the relationship? Like, could it be?
Right. Especially when, there's a lot in just what you said. Okay. Because if one loses weight and gets in shape and the other does not, and let's say that the other doesn't even want
to. Ooh.
doesn't even want to, like me, I want you to be here as long as you possibly can. Right. And for
Yeah.
that, I'm going to want you to do the things, right? Whatever your thing is. Cause like, I love cycling, but everybody in my house don't like cycling. Actually, nobody in my house likes cycling, right? So,
Yeah.
but what is your thing that you would do no matter like whether you were trying to lose weight or not? Let's find out what those things are. But now, if you don't even want to do that,
I'm looking at you sideways. And I'm looking at you sideways. And one thing about me, the evolution that has happened with me is my diet. And I eat a certain way that I did not necessarily eat before, nor did I care how other people were eating. And now I don't care how other people eat. But if we're in a relationship,
I care.
I care what we eating. And I am judging you
It's off of what you're eating, right? And
based off what you're eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the desire to take care of yourself. Now, I'm not saying it has to be my level or anything like that, but is there some care about my health, my well-being, my something? Because if it's not, no, thank you. No, thank you. Because again, we always talk about blood flow. I'm in perimenopause and I only got so many years before my libido probably go down the toilet. So I'm trying to get my back broke. You know what I'm saying? In these last few years. You're not gonna waste my last few years. Nah. Talking about you eat pork. Nah.
We listen and we're judging now. We have left.
Yeah, we left.
Judgment at the train station. We are judged.
Especially when you're dealing with someone your age. Now, if I go out and get me a YN, that's a different story. But if I'm connecting with somebody that's my age, come on now. We got to do better. We got to do better. We got to do better. But on that note, I think we can go into the raunchy questions, like jump down one. We can kind of go back and forth, guys, because we got some some good ones and we got some raunchy ones. And we'll keep it
We gonna
warm.
keep,
But we got some hot ones.
find a way. All right, where are we going? Tell me
We'll
where. Just
Okay,
right
so
there.
we'll
Just read
start
it.
warm with the raunchy ones, and we'll go back up. We'll toggle back and forth. So, is it wrong that I only feel emotionally connected after sex and not before?
Okay. First of all, the answer is it wrong? And I'm going to say no, because how you feel is how you feel, and there's nothing wrong with how you
And it's
feel.
valid.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the real question is, why are you in a place where you only feel emotionally connected after having sex versus prior to? Is this it almost leads me to more questions. Is this someone you're in a relationship with? Is this someone that you're having, a short term relationship with? Is this someone that you met at the bar or at the club and then you weren't feeling the way, you just wanted to work off some physical aggression, and then now all of a sudden you feel emotionally connected to the person afterwards? So I feel like I need more information, but on the surface the answer is no, because you feel how you feel. Now, if you don't like that about you, then that's worth exploring as to why you're that way. But if you have no problem with yourself being that way, then live your life, boo. Live your life.
Exactly. And like you said, I don't think there's no right or wrong, but there is maybe a self-discovery, exploration.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like, and ladies, I don't want to tussle. I also feel like women are more inclined to, once intercourse have happened, once that connection, that body connection has happened, I feel like women are more inclined to start feeling something after the fact than maybe if
Mhm.
they didn't feel it necessarily before, because
Mhm.
now it's that deeper connection. Because I feel like intercourse is so much more than physical. Like you're connecting body, soul, energy.
Yeah.
And I think people take that for granted. They're
Yeah.
like, they just on a surface level with it. But I'm like, no, when you really think about the act of intimacy and intercourse with somebody, that's a lot. And I think we need to evaluate that more in terms of who we are letting into our bodies and the energy and all. Because sometimes we just, because of just the society we live in and the culture we live in, and it's just like, oh, it's just, I'm going to do this. But really, there's something deeper happening, whether you acknowledge it or not. There's something deeper that is happening when you
Yeah.
That's just like, I don't like certain people touching
I
my
feel
hair
like
because of energy.
I don't know how I feel about it, because there's clearly people who are able to have intercourse and be disassociated emotionally. Like
Mhm.
it's just down to a physical thing. And I don't want to ignore that. But I also believe that there is some legitimacy to what you're saying about the connection of, because you're exchanging energy, and depending on how you're doing it, fluid, and then there is, not to mention, there are also the chemicals that pass back and forth just from the physical touching of someone. And so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I see both sides of the coin, right? And
Mhm.
I also notice, especially, when I have certain conversations with certain people in my life, it's like, it sounds like that they're not necessarily looking for a connection like that with some of the people that they choose to have intercourse with. It's like, maybe they're stimulated mentally and they want to do something physically. But what I'm not hearing out of their mouths is like, I want to be with this person, and like, I'm not hearing all the things that are connected to relationship,
Yeah.
that it's like more connected to, we're just having fun.
Yeah. 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 And you know me, I 'cause oftentimes when people do things like that, it's a survival mechanism. when they
Say more.
disassociate, or and maybe it's a trauma response when they disassociate with, well, I don't want to, I can compartmentalize and I can separate myself from that, right? Because you can't deny energy and exchanges. I'm not saying necessarily love or whatever, but or emotions, but I'm just saying energy exchanging. And whether you acknowledge is happening or recognize is happening doesn't mean it's not happening on some level and degree. That's just like the wind blowing, or we don't see wind, but we know it's there,
Yeah.
or microorganisms that we don't see, but they're there. We don't
Yeah.
acknowledge them maybe because we don't see
Right.
it, but
We don't
doesn't
see
mean it's not
gravity, but we
there.
sure as hell feel it.
Exactly. And what that long-term impact, because we are human beings
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. And so I think things just get deeper in that sense, but I do think people underestimate the impact and power those connections that we make have on us, our mind, body, and our soul, whether we recognize, acknowledge them or not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. Ooh.
You want to go back up or you want to stay down?
Let's stay here. Let's stay here. Let's do one more here at the
Stay
very
low.
least. Do one more here.
Okay, I'll read this one.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I'm ready to spice it up, but how do I ask my partner to bring toys? Or this, let me not change it. It says, how do I ask my man to bring toys into the bedroom without him feeling insecure?
I love this question. I really do. And here's the reason why. It literally is an opportunity for growth for the man. And the reason why I say it's an opportunity for growth for the man is because I think that men are not taught, what's the word? I don't believe that men are really taught about the anatomy of a woman. And I think they're raised believing that thrusting is all that's needed. And in addition to that, there was a time where the doctors believed that there was something wrong with the woman for not having thrusting be the only way that she climaxes. So I think that there's an opportunity for the man to learn about the anatomy of the woman. And if he really does, if he's genuinely interested in making sure that she has a good time as much as he's having a good time, then actually finding, like, there's plenty of resources out there, tons of resources out there outside of pornography to help the man understand what women truly like, in regards to besides the thrusting, and then when you find out, hey, this has nothing to do with me and everything to do with her anatomy and what actually works for her, then, all kinds of doors open up, in regards to that, because it's like, oh, well, shoot, give me that doggone toy. Because see,
Exactly.
if you're
It's a tool.
genuinely interested in snatching her soul, if you're genuinely interested in snatching her soul, then
Yes.
learning about the different aspects, because I mean, y'all are some complex beings, to start off with that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
from woman to woman, like, there's certain stimulations that works with one woman that doesn't work with another. So there's like all this exploration that can happen. Now, you give me some exploration with a little bit of communication, and I'm gonna try to snatch your soul because you told me, and I've discovered some things on my own. And so those are put it this way, for me, my ego is boosted when I find like all these other things that I can do to like make you feel like you are coming to Jesus.
And I feel like, again, is knowing your mate, because I feel like when it comes to things like that, you have men that are very secure in themselves.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't make them feel insecure. Now, if you had a man that, maybe he's not well endowed, or maybe he don't know how to do the motion in the ocean, who knows? And his identity is tied to that, and he know that. And you come with so now he like, well,
What's wrong with you? Right.
what's wrong?
He's
You
not,
know what's wrong with you.
he's
Let's
not
quit playing. It's not, we know what's wrong with you, and I'm trying to work with you because I
Right.
could just go about my business.
Right.
And so men, like Kyle said, is an opportunity to explore, to see different stimulation. Because there's certain things that, like when you think about the rose toy that women are just in love with, right?
Yeah.
Men, y'all can't vibrate. Y'all don't, unless y'all can't take us there. So why not use tools and aids that particular stimulation is like?
Coach Starr. The minute you say you want to bring a toy into the conversation, I'm going to do some research. Okay. I want to find out which one is going to snatch your soul the fastest.
Yeah.
Because that's
or
what I'm
even
buying.
asking her, what do you like? Like she may
already know, but I need to know so that way, if I need to get the Blake 2000 with the different modes and the remote control, this is my budget. I'm buying it. Right. Hey, honey, look what I got. This is an upgrade to what we already got. This is an upgrade.
I was dating this guy, and he said he was dating this girl, and she asked the conversation, well, how do you feel about toys? He thought he was open until she went in the closet and pulled out.
She had a whole spread.
And he was like,
myself into.
He said he thought he was secure until she whipped out the suitcase with what? He said now he had to question himself, like, I
and
thought
it's
I was
funny,
open.
The funny thing is, like, what you see is like, it could be different for everybody, because like, this is how he's questioning himself. I'm like, oh, we about to have a good time. Wouldn't see him.
But some of the stuff he was like, I was down, and so I saw certain stuff.
Yeah.
What did you doing? And not you got a whole suitcase like you a professional. Like, what's happening?
Right. Clearly, she knows how to enjoy being by herself. That's what that is. She knows how to, and every day she might feel a little different. Like, today I need this tool, tomorrow I need that tool, Thursday, on Thursdays it's always this tool. So,
and like you say, was taboo and was not. Let's have that conversation, because say for instance, the man come to you and he like, I want you to, you know what I'm saying, do certain things, and now I might judge. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, so I think it's the level of.
Yeah, because there are certain things that I'm like.
There's some things you're like, wait a minute now. And it ain't got nothing to do with ego or security. It's like,
yeah, no, we're not doing that. I've got my things like, I have my, we not doing that things. Yeah, I have those, and so, because I consider myself to be, I was going to say progressive, but I don't think that's the right word, but open. But there are certain things.
You saw that BDSM quiz. I was like,
well, it's like, I don't do
people do what?
2/3 of these things that's on that list. I don't do, and I know, like, desire to do about 2/3 of what's on this list.
That's like, like, I was very close to vanilla. Like, I came down a few notches, but the whole spectrum, I was like, no, I'm gonna stay up here in this little 1/3 area here, because
I might
can't run the gamut.
I might be vanilla too, but I'm on the side of vanilla that is on the soul snatching side of vanilla. Okay. Like if you ever had some vanilla ice cream and you're like, this is the best vanilla ice cream I've ever had in my life, and I would recommend it to everybody. That's
Maybe
probably
spiking. You ever had spiked ice cream?
yes. And I
Yeah,
like,
so maybe the spiking the vanilla with some bourbon or whiskey. That's
yeah,
my level of
yeah. I'm
we can
probably a Grey
spike the
Goose,
vanilla.
right? Like I'm probably a Grey
Yes.
Goose. And yeah,
Some chocolate vodka.
I don't know if Grey Goose makes chocolate, but I know they make tangerine. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hope we answered the question, guys.
did we answer the question? I think I did. I think we
I
did.
think we did. We can go back up to the top now. We can
Okay.
go. I think we're on number 3.
Okay. How can I tell my partner I've changed spiritually and emotionally and want to relate differently now? This kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week because I said that,
Religion.
we change. We
Yeah.
change. And I'm going to tell you right now, my wife saw me change spiritually, right? And I think that there are some things that like I might be into that she is very far apart from, but at the same time, I don't receive any kind of pressure to be the way she thinks I should be. Now, there are some pressures in the things that she wants me to be that I'm not, and that there's pressure in those areas, but the spirituality is not one of them. But I think it's also because I can communicate exactly where I'm coming from. And what I mean by that is, let's say Christianity. I was been in Christianity for a very long time, and I may not have read the Bible cover to cover like some people I know, but there are certain aspects about it that I understand, and I also see that it's not being used properly. For example, and y'all might jump on me for this one, and that is fine, right?
We will fight
But
you.
yeah, but the thing is, in the New Testament, Jesus said, I came to fulfill on the law, not to do away with it. So we take just that little bit right there, okay? And I say, imagine this. I said, Sapphire, you got that $5 that you owe me? And let's say you pay me that $5. And then I come back next week, but hey, you got that $5 you owe me? But Negro, I just paid you. Yeah, but I'm gonna need you to give me that $5. And this is how I feel about the whole concept of tithing and offering. I have no problem with offering. It's the tithing part for me because there are certain churches that make it sound like that's something that you have to do.
To be
That
saved.
is an Old Testament thing. And Jesus said, I came to fulfill on it, not to do away with it. And so if it is fulfilled on, then that is not a law that I need to keep week after week, paycheck after paycheck, fulfilling on that. Now, I do believe that given that the church is a nonprofit organization and they got bills to pay and they have expenses, that's where my offering comes in. Let me give this organization some money so that they can keep the lights on and keep providing the services that they're providing in the name of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
But when you come to me talking about, I'm going to hell because I don't tithe, now we got a problem.
Yeah.
Now we got a problem. In addition to that, I think it was like I don't know which scripture is where Jesus is talking about that if you are going to enforce one law, you got to enforce them all.
Yeah.
And people pick and choose which laws that they want to enforce on the body of Christ, right? On the people. And so that is also an issue I had because, do you know how many laws are in the Old Testament?
There's a
And
lot.
he said, if you gonna keep one, you gotta keep them all. I'm here so
Yeah.
you ain't got to do all that.
Yeah.
And
The veil
so,
has been lifted.
right. And so this is something that, because just this alone, my wife will leave me alone when it comes to Christianity. Because I can express that it's clearly to you, to her, as I've expressed it to you all. And so, do I believe in God? Absolutely. Do I believe in Jesus? I do. But there's a lot of other stuff that they attach to Jesus that I can't roll with.
And and this is honestly the first time I've said this, I think publicly actually, because I can't identify with the shift. And mine was more from being religious to being more spiritual
Yeah.
and becoming less indoctrinated
Yeah.
by pragmatic practices that human beings have created. And so I no longer identify as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people will take that and people will literally probably want to hang me somewhere if I said that. Like it would really upset them.
Yeah.
My choice and what I believe and what I've learned about something that I did not necessarily know before. But is it rooted in who I am in a way? Yes. Do I appreciate it? Yes. Love is my religion. And if people need hope, people
Mm-hmm.
need hope for their well-being, for their mental health. And if you believe in something that gives you hope, that you're not hurting anybody, that
Yeah.
expresses love,
Yeah.
then I'm all for it.
Yes.
I don't knock people for what they believe because I feel like there's extremisms in all religion.
Mm-hmm.
All of them have some form of extremism that is like radical, wild, and crazy, and I don't get with that.
Yeah.
But there's some things that, because I used to be one of those fire and brimstone type of people, like knocking you across the head. Jesus Christ is the only way to
Mm.
the, like
Way.
that. That was me. I was the pew warmer. That was me.
Yeah.
And one day I was like, I need to know God for myself and what that looked like, because before it was coming through another human being and what
Yep.
somebody else said. And I had to listen to the God within me. And what does that mean for me? And it took me on a journey.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, I'm not in a relationship, because if I was, I can see how I go from this to that
Yep.
to now this, because
Yeah.
I've had several transitions in my life when it comes to religion. I can see how maybe that could be problematic depending on how deeply rooted that person is in their faith. Do I believe that people of opposite faith and religions can be together? Absolutely. That comes with maturity, loving, and understanding. Because again, I wouldn't knock somebody, and that's your thing, but don't expect me to be aligned with that.
Yeah.
Some people are mature enough to be like, oh, I love you and I support you. Whatever you.
And at least at the beginning stages, that's part of the conversations that we have before we say we go together, right?
Yes.
And keep in mind, so there's the aspect of like, all right, I want to be in a relationship with someone who has the same spiritual beliefs that I
Yeah.
have,
Evenly yoked.
evenly yoked, right? But there's one thing that still is left out of this equation, which is the change factor. Because
Yeah.
10 years into that relationship, I might be like, you know what? I don't believe none of the stuff that they talking about from this pulpit, because they also foolishness.
Yeah.
And if my
Now what?
spouse or my mate can't get with that, it may cause some friction. So before we say we go together, I think that we still have to give the grace to say, like, I understand that people are going to change over time and that you may change over time. But at least starting off, let's start here. And let's grow.
Yeah.
And whatever growth looks
Yeah.
like in 10 years, it may look different than how we are looking right now. And I need to give you enough grace that if your growth looks different than my growth, and your point of view and perspective is different than mine at 10 years down the road, if I love you, and I love the way you said that, like, you know, that your religion is love. Because if I love you, I'm going to allow whatever changes you go through, allow you to go through those changes without me being the person that's trying to force your change in a particular direction.
Oh, this question isn't on our list, but when we're talking about religion, which
Mhm.
is a huge divider amongst people, what about political view?
I cannot and will not. Okay. I cannot and will not be in a relationship with someone who their political views is just go with whatever's being said and not doing their own type of research and validation of their own. I'm telling you right now, if you a Trumper, we not going together.
Oh yeah, no. And I'm
You
not
know,
even on no if you're a Republican. You could be a Republican. But if you support that type of person, to
yeah,
me, I'm just like, how can you support a person like that? Political views aside,
yeah.
how can you support a person who says and do the thing that this person does? Now I'm side eyeing you because I'm
Yeah.
like, you think that's cool?
Now,
Nah.
I have people, friends and family who support whatever they support, believe whatever they believe? I'm sure I do.
Yeah.
And I can love you from afar, right? I don't have to be in the political conversations that you're in. I can just love you from afar. But I will tell you right now, if you consider policy over humanness, if
Yeah. Like,
if
nah.
you're choosing anything political over being humanly decent, like if you can rationalize people being picked up off the street and sent to concentration camps, if you can like rationalize that, you're not for me. You for somebody else,
Yeah,
you know?
no. Yeah. And what
Oh,
happens if you're in a relationship and maybe there was a shift? Maybe they were one way politically and then they shifted. So
hey,
that's a hard stop. Like it's over.
if once you start choosing your political views over human decency,
Yeah.
that is probably a bridge that we cannot come back from. Like when people criticized, um, when people criticize the victims of police brutality, and like people actually came out their mouths about George Floyd and his past transgressions and what he was doing that day. At the end of the day, a human being lost his life over a 9-minute like domination by another human being. If you can justify that, you're not for me. If you can
Yeah.
say anything about that other than that is an atrocity
And
to
this
another
man was
human being,
restrained. He's restrained. I'm confused. How can you justify? I don't care what he did in the past. Like he's restrained. When did the cops become judge, jury, and executioner? You're
if
doing a
you can
lot.
justify the police going into someone else's apartment and killing the wrong person, they ain't even supposed to be there. If you can justify that with your political views as opposed to the human indecency of
Human.
that act, you're
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
over.
I got some hard stops. I do.
Yeah. I think, and that's important to, like you said, have these conversations, but also have the understanding. And I don't necessarily, because everything comes to an end,
Mhm,
everything.
mhm.
And I don't think the ending of a relationship is like the end of the world either. I think
Yeah,
sometimes you come to an end of the road and it's like, oh, this was great. Thank you. Love you.
yeah,
Bye. I
yeah.
think it's some people are
Okay,
just like,
yeah.
sometimes it's
Yeah,
okay. Especially
because
with you involved. Maybe it's time.
we tie so
It's
much of
time
our identity in the relationships that
to
we
these
have.
relationships. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And it
do.
takes
We
a
do.
lot to even acknowledge whether or not, like, I might just have an unhealthy attachment to this person.
Style. Yeah.
And
Oof.
if I'm able to recognize that I have an unhealthy attachment, then at least there's something that I can do about that. But if I don't realize I have an unhealthy attachment and then there's a separation, well, now I feel like I've like lost my whole world because that I poured all of that identity into that relationship. And so
Mm.
that just getting over the unhealthy attachment is hard enough. Not knowing you have an unhealthy attachment is,
Yeah.
it has to feel like the world is ending for you when that person decides that they want to move on. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Do we have time? Yeah, we got time for, we got maybe time for one or two more. This looks like it's going to be a part two. Part 1 and 2 of the relationship Q&A.
Yeah.
How do you bring up boundaries in a long-term relationship when you've never really talked about them before?
This is a beautiful question.
Yeah.
A great question. Because how many relationships started without having a conversation about boundaries in the first place? You know?
Yeah, we said that.
I think it's, first of all, my cousin who did work with youth at risk, who I got a chance to work with him a couple times, he would always say, everything is communicatable. Everything. And so if I'm standing in everything is communicatable and believing that that's true, then introducing the boundary conversation has to start somewhere. Right. And so I think that that is, if we haven't had the conversation, we were before we started saying you and I go together.
I love that.
Right. If we didn't have it before that, and let's say maybe we've been going in for 5 to 10 years, you know, I don't think that there's ever a bad time to introduce a boundary, to say like, hey, this makes me uncomfortable because of X, Y, Z. And if I truly love you and you said that I did something that made you uncomfortable, then I am more interested in not making you uncomfortable. So what do I need to do to rectify that? Because I don't ever want you to feel uncomfortable, unsafe, or that you can't say something to me. And so, and that is, therein lies a big challenge with relationships, is because I don't always feel safe enough to say what there is without having some type of repercussion afterwards. And so when we're doing the boundary conversation, I think it's important to make sure that both parties feel safe in that conversation, you know, which is the epitome of we don't judge, right? We listen and we do not
And
judge.
we don't judge.
Right. Like I think that that's where that conversation really belongs, is in when we're talking about boundaries. You know, there are some boundaries that I have that I just expect you to just follow, you know, that I didn't say it to you, but I expect you to just follow. And then when you break that
Yeah, and that's not
boundary,
fair.
right. And if you break that boundary, I might have to be like, hey, listen, we've never had this conversation before. I've never said this before, but hey, look, you can't call me after 11 o'clock no more because I'm asleep. Because I'm asleep. And I'll always remember to put my phone on vibrate. And then when it goes off and Patrice hears it, now all of a sudden it is, what hoes you talking to now this late at night? What hoes calling you at this late at night? You know, like that's where she's going. They are automatically out, right?
Oh,
It could be a dude just calling me about work. What hoes you talking to this late at night? Right. So
I love
just
that.
so y'all know, soul shifters, if you call me after 11 o'clock, you are instantly a hoe. Male or female.
You a hoe. Now you decide. You decide.
You're this.
You decide what you want to be. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you know, when you were talking, it reminded me of the gun line on life. You know, you have the gun line. You can't see that gun line though. It's imaginary. And so, like you said, you know, you've created these boundaries that you have in your head, but you haven't communicated. But as soon as somebody cross over, now you want to shoot them and kill them and die. And it's like, I don't think there's, like you said, to your point, and I like what you said before about, okay, let's just start prefacing these conversations with, you know what? I did not say this before. And I know we've been together all these years, and I've created a narrative in my head and didn't communicate that with you. But
Yeah.
now I want to have the conversation
Yeah.
about some things that I like and don't like, or things that make me feel and don't feel a certain kind of way, from boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And also, and just before you even getting to this point, I think it is important that we honor our boundaries that we create for ourselves and respect them. And I know, and this is like for maybe when you're first meeting, because I know it's like, it's exciting. It's like, oh my God, making all the exceptions because this person is new in your life. And I just want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, stick to your guns. Even in the elation of everything, because I have to remind myself that, because I have boundaries for myself, like you were talking about the calling and all that stuff. Like my phone automatically goes to do not disturb at 9 o'clock automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to honor that. I can't be like, oh, let me see if he called, if he texts. Nah, girl,
Hey.
honor that. And it's little things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because then it creates resentment down the line because you did not communicate. You didn't share
Right.
that. You
Just
broke
expect to
your
be
own. You made
fine.
exceptions to your own boundaries because you
Yeah.
were all in this phase. But remember, it's a phase. These things that we go through in
Yeah.
relationships, they're phases. They come and they go, and that's okay. But we
Yeah.
got to be, ride the wave, but just honoring
I
your boundaries.
I've never been a fan of people having the attitude called, well, they should just know. Like they should just
No.
know what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking, and when I'm thinking it. Right? Like, yeah, I may be a
No.
magician, but I am not God. Okay. I might be magical, but I am not God.
Yeah.
He's the only one that is everywhere at all times. Okay. That's the only one that I know. I am not.
That has that power,
And
right?
and this is why communication, like even with sex, that you'll have people that they just expect their partners to just figure out all the things that turn them on and push their buttons. And it's like,
Mhm.
I would rather
No.
talk about it. I would rather you say, hey, do this. Hey, do that. Like tell me, give me the instructions of what makes you feel good, because then we don't have to fumble around with all this other stuff that ain't working.
Exactly. And now you don't piss me off. Don't piss me off.
Like, tell me. And I've actually come across people and it's women that want their men to just know. Like they don't want to tell
Yeah.
them what they like and how they like it and so on and so forth. And that just baffled the hell out of me, because I'm like, wouldn't it be more fun if you just told me? And I just went on ahead
Yeah.
and did those things if you just told me? Like, you actually want me to play Where's Waldo?
Yeah. And then, like, if you don't do it, let me know too, because I may need to make a decision based on that. What you mean?
Right. And if you tell me and I still don't want to do those things, well, now we got a whole different
Yeah.
conversation.
We got a conversation to have, which
Yeah.
I think that's a great segue to our final question for the hour.
Uh-oh.
And we're gonna go down to the spiciness.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
My situationship. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
My situationship gives great head but zero communication skills. Do I keep him or do I coach him?
Great head, zero communication skills.
Are they mean like talking during it, or are they just mean it's
Yeah, like, not sure. Like, what is the part about
what are we
zero
coaching?
communication skills?
Do I?
All right, so here's my response in my limited understanding of this question. It suggests that, at least the way I'm interpreting it, is great at oral, not so great at everything else. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they're not communicating what they like, or when you're telling them what you like, that the communication breaks down because they feel a certain kind of way. So I'm going to go with not so great at everything else, and then the communication breaks down when we try to talk about it, or in the moment or afterwards, right? And so I'm gonna tell you right now, in the moment, coach me, honey. Tell me what you want, what you don't want, do this, don't do that. Coach me, because
Right.
and coach me the way that I don't even have to respond.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we could debrief.
Yeah,
When
because
you
my
did
brain is
that,
like,
what did your brain say?
are we saying there's good sex but everything else is trash?
It was
It's
good
kind of
head,
hard.
and everything else might
Good
be trash.
head. Do I keep them or coach them?
We
Well,
definitely
do you
keep.
keep them or coach?
You definitely keep and coach, right? You keep and
I feel say
coach.
it has to be a and, because I would say, are you saying do I leave them or do I keep them? I would think that would be
Right.
the question, but keep him or
Right.
coach
I
him
think the
is
question really should be like, do I keep him and coach him,
and coach him or do I
or
leave him?
do I just bounce out of this
Leave.
altogether? I think that's probably what the
That would
intention
make
of that question, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I believe keep and coach, because I don't think that you should lose your job, just after a a day or two, especially when I'm performing well in certain areas, right? So if I'm performing
Yeah.
well in certain areas and I'm just lacking in areas, I think that that's just some coaching that has to be done, because let's face it, you have invested some time, some energy,
Yeah.
and some money into this relationship. So
Yeah.
why go through all that over again if all the person needs is just a little bit of coaching? Now,
Coaching.
if they don't
Yeah.
want
And
the coaching, if they
yeah.
refuse the coaching and continue to want to do things their way instead of our way, well,
Yeah.
then it might be time to, especially if this is a deal breaker, because I know that there's some people where intimate relationships or sex is not as high on the scale as other things, right? There are some people where, like, I have to connect with you mentally and we have to have like amazing conversations and so on and so forth. Like, that might be higher up on the scale than sex is, right? So, but if this is really important, if this is super important, then keep and coach. If you're still not getting the results you're looking for, it might be time to move on. If it's
Yeah.
that
And the
important.
only thing and the only thing I was gonna say is like, okay, are they teachable? If that's something that they're open and willing,
Yeah,
then yeah, why not? Like you said, you've already come this far. Like,
right,
at least give them an opportunity.
right. At least, at least.
And I know
Communication
I've
is
heard people say, yeah, and I know I've heard some people say something because it may be the other way around. Like, oh, they're a great person, but the sex is trash. And I know for some people, especially when you reach a certain age, in their mind, like, well, I gotta teach you how to do this, and that. So then that's the conversation. Because some people like, we're in our 40s. Ain't nobody like,
But this goes back to the same conversation earlier, which is there's this misconception for on the male side
that they should
that
know. Yeah.
well, first of all, the they should know conversation is trouble no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Like I should, like, y'all should know to keep your teeth away from my stuff. When right? But if you don't know, you don't know, right?
Maybe they
Like,
got an overbite, Kyle. Okay. Maybe they
I'm
got an
just
overbite.
saying that that would be wrong for me to say, well, you should just know how to do that, right? And I think that, that a woman expecting a man to just know is just as bad. So let's,
Yeah.
and again, if a guy has been coming up all this time thinking that thrusting is all there is to do, right? And they're not interested in doing all the other stuff, right? Even Yeezy has one. Jeezy has one in Welcome Home. He's like, I just came to do X. You play with your own stuff, right? Like if you have that attitude, chances are, unless you're making that kind of money, you may not be able to have that type of stance, right? So
And my thing is, where are we being formally taught these skills? We're not. We're having like it's very rare somebody was like, "Oh, let me show you how to do." No one's bringing us to the side, and it's like you either getting it from your partner because maybe they know what they want and they're communicating.
yeah.
But what if that's not even the case? So you got two people that don't really know what they want, what they don't like. Because I've even heard some women say they've never had an orgasm before. So being able to communicate the things, but you never really was taught, you really don't know, you kind of feeling yourself around. How do you navigate? Where do you get these skill sets from? Like,
I think I got two things to say. First of all, one is I think this is one of the fascinations that younger guys have with older women. It's like, I bet you she could show me some stuff, right?
yeah.
There's and then the on the flip side, the older woman gets to have a younger guy with all this youthful vibrance and energy and so on and so forth.
And
So
willingness.
and willingness, right?
Yeah.
But going back to the thing of like they should just know, if you remember, Fatima about 3 episodes ago said, the swipe and sniff, right? Like they got to pass the swipe and sniff test, right? I didn't know
And we
this.
didn't know that was a thing.
We didn't know that. But at the same time, she may not know that her diet has a direct impact on her scent. She may not.
And women that are going through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, that is a side effect of the women going through the change is body odor changes.
I think people go through body odor changes anyway, just
Oh, yeah, for
over,
sure.
right? But I would also imagine that a woman that's going through any one of those particular phases, that if she is concerned about her diet, that it may have the scent may have a lesser impact because she's doing the things on the other side of the equation to make sure that she still feels and smells fresh, And so,
Yeah. And
but
like you said, that's a big part of it, both men and women. And
yes,
that's my thing about diet. Like, you want me to put my mouth where and you eating what? Like that. Why?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that impacts odor, that impacts taste. Help me out.
Help me out.
I
Allow
help you
me.
out. You help.
Right. If I am going to hang out down there for a little while, help my experience.
Help me out. Help me. I gotta go get me some watermelons and pineapples today. Ooh, I heard about okra water. Did you hear about okra water?
That sounds disgusting, first of all. And no, I have not
I'm
heard of it.
just saying. I seen you the
I don't know
video. It's
if it's true or not, but I heard a story that Nick Cannon would say like a lot of the women that he had been with did not have good odors.
wow.
He got
Diet, man. You listen, ladies, you gotta keep your pH balanced. And that's the thing. Again, if you're not taught these things, you don't know these things, but women, that pH balance goes off. And a lot of that is what we eat, because a lot of foods have acidity. And that's not just down there, but that's your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
Dis-ease happen in very acidic environments. And that's why they always talk about the alkaline diet and whatever, and keeping your body as close to alkaline as possible. But that's also very important in that area is keeping a pH balance, because if that is off by any amount, that can create odors. So taking supplements, drinking water, watching what you eat plays a huge role in that. And it's because you're washing yourself on the outside, but if things are off balance in the inside, it's still going to come out.
And
So
I think the same advice goes to men, right? Because
yeah.
if your semen has an odor,
Oh, it's thick.
it's possible your diet is having an effect on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this goes for both ways.
Both ways.
Dang.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
You and I were like, you and I will hold like, let's go down this alley right here.
What's Dora and Dora back? What's Dora's little sidekick name? Is it Boot?
Oh, Boot. Dora and Boot.
Dora and Boot. Battle.
And we left the map at home, obviously, because you and I were going down these dark. He's like, this guy.
What? God. Figure it out when we get there.
That is so us too, right? That is us. We will figure it out when we get there.
Figure out when we get there.
This
was a great conversation. And obviously there's going to be a part 2 because we have more questions.
Were we transformative?
Say it again?
Were we transformative today?
I think so. These are the conversations that sometimes people aren't having, but people want to ask, but maybe they're too afraid or ashamed or really not sure. So I think this is very much transformative because we are dimensional beings, mind, body, and soul, and all these things play a role in our holistic and our well-being. It's not just certain parts we want to talk about, like the mind, obviously, but obviously all these things are a mind, body, soul connection, even when it comes to the physical things, right? And so having healthy conversations around this is equally as important, especially with a lot of people dealing with sexual trauma and how to navigate those things. So I think it's important that we have these conversations. And so if you did not get your questions in, we will have a part 2 next week. Please send us an email at soulshiftsessions@gmail.com, or you can go to our website at soulshiftsessions.com. Send us an email, send us your questions, join the tribe. If you know someone that needs a soul shift, make sure you share this podcast or any of our podcasts with a person that you know and love and trust. And maybe you like, you know how some people be sending like, they don't want to ask the questions, but they'll send like little clues. Maybe you want to send this as a clue to somebody, you know, like, hey, watch this.
Ask the question. This is a space game. Ask the question.
Save space. Ask the questions. Put it in the comment fields. If there's anything that you would love for us to talk about more, please put that in the comment section. What has been your favorite question for today, and how would you answer the question? Put that in the comment section as well. Kyle, any final words?
Yes, it is not what happens to you, but how you react that matters.
With that, guys, always remember to let your soul glow. Until next time.
So long, everyone.